Hello, beautiful sunshines. Welcome to Now That's Love.
With your favorite mother-daughter duo, Ashlyn and
Janae LaFleur, where you get to know thyself, love thyself, and become the best version of self.
Because the greatest love story that you are ever going to tell is the one you create with yourself every day. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about having no more forgiveness. And I bet in your brain you're like, what? No more forgiveness? Isn't this part of like my journey of releasing everything and getting rid of everything? But I first want to get into what is forgiveness and why we said no more. And then at the very end, we're going to teach you how to fully release and forgive. But let me tell y'all what forgiveness is first. So, is feeling resentment or anger towards someone who has hurt you, offended you, any part of you that you just feel like you have like this towards them. And we want to help you take your life back. So, why did we end up coming up with no more forgiveness? Because the stigma behind it. Oh my gosh. All my church girls out there, or if you have had gone to church or just raised in a religion, we all know that I remember in our church growing up, we had like a whole day about forgiveness. And it was like the pressure of forgive, forgive, forgive. And it kind of made you feel like icky. Well, why should I give them forgiveness? They did X, Y, and Z to me. And you'd have to go to your bishop, your pastor, your priest, and say, hey, I need forgiveness on this. And a lot of times you were gaslit of like how you got in that situation, or you were put in like, well, just get over it type of mode. And so you were told those things, and so you didn't get acknowledged for my feelings or what happened. And then also within family, so many of us have had that one family member that has said something or hurt us in some type of way, whether it was they touched you as a child, and you tell your mom or your dad or someone, a relative of yours, hey, like this happened to me. And then they're like, well, you just need to forgive them. Maybe they didn't know better. Well, maybe you were bringing it on. Well, I think you're lying. That couldn't have happened. Your Uncle Phil is the greatest person of all time.
You're exaggerating. When you sat on his lap, he probably just accidentally touched you.
Exactly.
Like we said, the gaslight. And then you feel immense guilt and shame that you even thought that maybe they really didn't. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of self-doubt.
And they're like, well, then you need to forgive. And then they show up to dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, and you see them there, and you're just like, well, I wasn't heard, and I need to forgive. And because if I don't forgive, then I'm a bad person. And so you just bypass your entire feelings. Like we've mentioned in our spiritual bypassing, it even happens in the spiritual community with with forgiveness as well, where you have to forgive and love and light and everything's beautiful. And if you don't forgive, then you have just completely, you can't do anything. All your energy is negative. I can't be around somebody that can't forgive. And this is why we said no more forgiveness, because forgiveness has such a bad name behind it. Through everything we've been through people gaslighting us with forgiveness, from us not really being able to feel our emotions. So
yeah,
we're going to get into that.
So I've just been, I feel like, gifted with through life visuals. And I think a lot of us learn and can really walk through the importance of something or to shift something through seeing a visual. So I was shown this visual of a person that's hurt you. You can, and it always stems from our lovely childhood, but just reflection of your life, you're going to keep on having just different characters. Sometimes it's the same one for a long time, same character that hurts you. And so the context of forgiveness, we wanted to shift it into releasal. And when I've worked with clients, I said, how do you feel about the word releasal? Like you're releasing this. It's no longer your burden to carry, your energy to carry. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's the best word ever. I love that word. And so I had a little download of just this visual. So just take a moment. You can have your own little fishing pond, or you're going to be at a lake, but you have a fishing pole, okay? And there's people around you, they're all fishing. You can visualize the people in your life that you feel like have been maybe even some game changers as far as the direction your life went because of something that they did to you that really hurt you. And they're pulling their fishing reel back, and they at 6 years old they threw it out, and that hook went into your skin. So now you have one in your arm, and it's metaphorically, it's an energy, it's a negative, heavy energy that now is attached to you because of what they've done. And because we didn't know better at a younger age, very few of us did anyway, to untouch the hook and give them back their freaking hook. And a lot of us didn't deal with the anger. So you can take that dang hook and throw it at them and jab them in their own skin. I'm just kidding. Like from the beginning, if that helps you with the releasal to walk through the anger visual part, and then that part is working through. But if it's not unhooked, what it is that now you're walking in the water and you're feeling more weighed down, as if you are that fish that's on their lure that can keep on emotionally taking you out. And if you walk out far enough, because you've had it for so long, now you have little bobbles on this freaking thing, and it's heavier, and you're being pulled down into the water. But this is this person that came into your life to keep on trying to show you, hey, listen, this is a pattern that you're experiencing. So like for me, mine would be narcissistic, like abusive relationships. So I'd have this, little bobber and then another bobber. And we also talked about the pain body. So now it's more dense. Now I freaking got this heavy hook on me. And it's not just I'm standing on the shore. I feel like I'm barely above water. Every time something happens where I have a similar situation happen, I'm like, can I swim? It's very dense. It's very heavy. And because I've walked this so many times, I'm like, oh my gosh, this one took me 3 months to get through. This one took me 6 months to get through, until I took like full responsibility to be like, I have codependency habits. I don't have boundaries. If somebody calls me up to do something, I may not set the whole night, but I don't want to lose that friendship. So I'm going to go do that, even though I'm absolutely exhausted. But that's another episode that we did. But this is about the fish hook. So you may have experienced in all different directions of your areas of your life, like the money thing. You're like, why am I not being able to make enough money? Why am I having such big body issues? And why I keep on having these kind of relationships, or I can't have this relationship with my mother, or whatever it is. These are just hooks that literally have been thrown out, and it's your responsibility. It's our responsibility to witness them, because otherwise we check out, or we start to get autoimmune diseases, headaches, dry mouth a lot, our tummy hurts a lot. Yeah. Why do we always get colds? Our body's trying to tell us, listen, you have a lot of hooks in you. You're stressed out, very reactive to life. And as you take these hooks out, now you are having your own authentic energy source take such good care of you. Intuition, which Ashlyn and I have just created one of the most profound, like how to tap into your intuition course.
Yeah, finding your true inner light within.
Yeah, it came from our authentic self. So I pull yourself back out of the water, okay? Get those hooks off. Yeah, you're going to have the little scar wounds that are going to be doing it, but you're not hooked to their energy. Give them back their energy. Give it back.
Yeah.
Give it back.
And sometimes it's theirs too, to have. I would like to even mention that it's not even like release it for yourself, but also for your children, because sometimes things you have built up in your body, and it's not even from something that maybe happened to you. It's a generational thing.
7
and we
generations.
See this. Yeah, we see this in all different ways of maybe you were Catholic and your religion was hurt Maybe you're Jewish and you have that anger stored up in your body. Maybe you're a different race and your race has been affected. And through what your generations have gone through, they have this stored up anger and resentment. And they're like, I can't forgive. So that passes down through womb to womb to womb. And it got to you. And you have this stored up. So heal not only for yourself, but for your children. And there's a lot
Yeah.
of things like my mom and I, we've talked about this where she's doing this healing process, not only for herself, but for me and also our future generations. And also I'm healing myself because even just with Zane being in my womb right now, he's going to feel what I feel. He's going to feel the resentment. He's going to feel the pain. He's going to feel the depression that I am pushing into him. And those energy exchanges that we give to our children are so important. So even if they're not in your belly and they're 18 years old, they're 30 years old, you can still do this releasal for them. And if that gives you, because I know that all of us would be like, I would die for my children. Well, release for your children now. Like, I think that's so
Yes.
much more powerful.
Oh yeah,
Like,
we're
yes,
all
I would say
energy.
any day I could die for Malay, but it takes some serious earthly work to release these things and
Yeah.
heal for them and
Yes.
release that stored up anger and cut off the energy and having no more emotional tie of that guilt and anger and not giving them any more energy or time. I know that we've all heard these stories of people being locked up, kidnapped at 8 years old, locked up for 20, 30 years. And they come out and they interview them. And I remember this one powerful interview that I listened to. I believe her name was JC. She was locked up for a long time, had obviously horrific things happen to her, unimaginable things happen to her. And they asked her, like, how are you, like, have you forgiven him? How do you have the chance to even forgive? Like, that is some deep shit to forgive. And she's like, he wasted 30 years of my life. He's taken that 30 years from me. And to even give him one thought, one more second of my life, even just a little form of energy of anger, I am giving him even more time of my life. And I think whenever I heard that perspective, and it's like, well, why should I forgive? Because you're doing yourself the biggest favor of all time by being in the present moment and giving yourself that chance to live your life and
Yeah.
not give them any more of that energy that they've already taken
Right.
because they're going to go and sit in their own shit. Karma happens, everybody. Whether it's in this lifetime or next lifetime. But right now it's you're releasing that energy
Yeah, it's the
fully.
most loving thing you can do for yourself
Mhm.
because you're forgiving them. And honestly, the full circle, it makes it so much easier for you to forgive yourself.
Mhm.
You know, we lie a lot of times in guilt, shame, fear, and anger.
Mhm.
And
I
just
agree.
witnessing that, and it's a journey, but just witnessing that, no more. No more, because if we're holding on to that, there's just something about it coming into the mirror effect too of us judging ourselves. Well, I'm dirty. I shouldn't have done this. I have guilt for that. This
Mhm.
decision. So none of us are perfect, and it doesn't make what they did by any means okay. You are just taking loving action for yourself and saying, here you go, here's the fishing hook, or throw it at it. And be like,
Yeah.
I don't want this energy tie anymore because it's literally killing me. It's hurting me. I'm
Mhm.
walk outside and I'm scared of life because I might be reacted this way or that way. And I can promise you, doing the work through meditation, through some physical activities as far as like working out and getting that stress out
Mhm.
and processing, because you elevate and then you have more clear conscious decisions. But you're going to start to see that you're not so-called being triggered, like we have that video too, or letting go.
Mhm.
And one of the things I saw just before we popped up this video is I'm like, oh, we're in the water with the fishing hooks. I
Mhm.
also have all these different stones, right? So you can go out to a riverbed or to a lake or to a pond. You can name the stone a certain person
Mhm.
and throw that, say, I release you. This
Mhm.
story, I release.
Love
Like
that.
you're not going to hurt me anymore. And you just throw all that anger, the frustration, and everything because you're loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you could gather 20 stones. I mean, you might get a little crazy on this. I did this one time. I did. I just had it come to me that I should do this, and I just had remembered it today.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought at the time when I did it that I was out in nature all by myself, and I found this riverbed, and I went and I started throwing them. I'm like, please don't anybody be here. They're going to think I'm a Looney Tune. I'm like this grown woman throwing out stones, but
Mm-hmm.
with names. And I felt at the time there was this beautiful releasal. Like there was something energetically that happened. But I'll tell you what happened about 10 minutes later. As I left the riverbed, I was walking back towards where my car was parked, and there were all these trees. I'm coming around a corner, and coming, verging out of me, out of nowhere. I had come around a corner where another part of the riverbed was, but I was up high. And out of me was the F bomb, F you, and that
Mm-hmm.
person's name.
Yeah.
This anger
Scream
that
it.
I had literally was scared to feel within my own self. I mean, it just like it came out so fast. It like actually scared me. And I started to kind of laugh because it scared me so much that it coming out of me.
Yeah.
And that was like such a huge releasal. And then when I got in my car, I just kind of had a smile on my face, like, wow, that was intense.
Mm-hmm.
And we had talked about how we start to have these different dreams. We do the meditation, you do the journaling. So this is a process of just like
Well,
it just
yeah.
gets less and less. You have this dense pain body. Like I said, you're
Mhm.
walking in the
It's
water.
harbored in your body
Yeah.
probably for years.
Yes.
So
And
it's
some of
okay to
it
feel how you
just
feel.
doesn't, I think the trigger video we did just before this is so intentional to go back and like listen to that if you haven't, because it's going to show up in how you react in life with relationships and how you,
It will.
relationship with money and food,
Yeah, you'll
you
look and
know,
see how many times it's held you back.
right.
Like, wow.
And so we numb out and I've seen it so much in my own life. I'm like, I'm so self-aware in this moment that I chose to do this. And usually it's like one stepping stone into the gateway of your own hell. It's like, I'm going to sit down and just innocently watch a movie. And then you're on an unconscious pilot thing now. And now you're watching maybe something on TV that unconsciously is like triggering you. And you have this thought, I'm going to go to the fridge and get that piece of cake that I had from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Or, oh, you know what? I have chips and salsa. That sounds really good while I'm watching the movie. And wow, now this is a whole series. Holy moly. I might just eat like 5,000 calories. It's that numbing effect. And then you're hurt afterwards. We will literally have a pleasure, like we need to numb out unconsciously, but we don't know we're doing it. That's why with forgiveness, sometimes we don't even know that there's stuff that needs to be looked at
Mm-hmm.
unless we see our triggers within
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. And sometimes it's us acting out on somebody. So we're forgiving ourselves too. But the
Oh, I
dang
love that. It's full
word,
circle, 100%.
it's a full circle. And so release and forgive yourself too. Take the hooks out that you've dormantly put on yourself
Release
of like,
yourself from those chains whenever you
yes,
release other people around you. And sometimes, I mean, obviously the big things I understand that it can be hard to release, but especially with like the little things that have happened to you in life where, maybe it was gossip at a young age where someone said you were fat or ugly and that hurts your feelings and you're holding on to what Susanna said in 5th grade. Like those things, I've noticed that whenever it's been hard for me to release, which now, like we said, we're not saying forgiveness anymore. No more forgiveness. It's releasal for you and your generation. I've noticed that whenever I am having an issue forgiving somebody, I'm expecting perfection out of myself because I'm
mm,
expecting perfection out of them.
beautifully
And I
said.
was so hard on myself. And I expected everyone around me to be like perfect. And I didn't realize that it was like that mirror effect 5 years ago. And I was like, how dare she say this? Even if it was the littlest thing, where, and obviously we have our voices now, or we've always had a voice. But I mean, if you're really like learning how to gain it, like I have in the past 2 years, I have my freaking voice and it's like powerful. And you can stick up for yourself. As a little girl, maybe you were told to shut up or you can't stick up for yourself. But now that you're an adult, use your voice. And if someone hurts you, say something right away. Or, like we mentioned in previous videos, it's like if you can talk to them about it and you're in a good relationship, then let them know, like, hey, that hurt me. So you don't have to hold on to this resentment. Because I think I've even noticed this in marriages where a year later they'll have like, they'll store up everything. They're like, oh, I remember when he did this and he did this. And all of a sudden, a year later, 3 years later, and he says like one thing or does one thing, and you're like, that's it, that's the final flag, and just like everything goes up, and he's like, or she's like, oh my gosh, like, where did this all come from? What do you mean like you feel this way? So also expressing your emotions to begin with and not expecting everyone to be perfect. And that's not bypassing the situation. It's just realizing that we're all going through this journey in life. It's not like we come in here and we have a direction list of like, okay, whenever you're 1 to 3, you're going to do this. And then whenever you turn 16, you're going to all of a sudden create this thing that's going to lead into whenever you're 30, and it's going to be this big magical thing. No, we don't come in with any guidance. And I love this one video, and I think everyone on social media has seen this video on Instagram. And it's this reel of daughters, mostly daughters, maybe a few sons, but daughters recording their moms. And I'm like, got a little teary right there. But it's daughters recording their moms just in like their happy state. Like maybe their mom's dancing in the kitchen, or their mom is opening up Christmas presents. And like, it's like so tender to watch those videos, because they even add on to it and say, we have to remember that our moms are just little girls too, learning how to do life. And I looked at that and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I think like looking up to my mom at such a young age, I was like, she has all this shit figured out. And I realized this is her first time doing life as well. And whenever I took a step back and realized that I didn't expect perfection out of her, even though she was a freaking amazing mom throughout my entire life, but it made me even reflect even on myself as a mom, with mom guilt and mom pressure, and being like, oh my gosh, Malay's gonna have to release this from me someday and forgive me. And then I watched that video, I'm like, it's so releasing to understand that he's gonna someday grow up and maybe have his own kids and be like, wow, my mom tried her very best and she released this generational trauma for me. And I see that it was my mom's first time doing life, especially with Malay, like your first kid. It's like, you don't know what the fudge nuggets you're doing. And seeing the work that my mom's done for us kids and me and my brothers, and now just the blessing that Zane and Malay are going to get of the releasal, it's powerful. And that's why you need to go and release these things, because when you do that, you're able to see this whole picture of, okay, it was their first time doing life. And even though it doesn't mean what they did is right necessarily, you are able to release it. Like my mom said, release it into the freaking water. Take the fish hook, maybe jab them a little bit with the fish hook.
There might be shank. One individual, then the original guy or girl.
You're like, yeah, just a little shank to everybody else. A little bit like, fuck you. And do that, like, have that anger. And that's why I'm, not bypassing it at all. But whenever I took a step back and realized these things, it was this full circle of like forgiveness / releasal for myself. And when you can do that, I think that's why we saved this episode for number 30. Because after this, we're kind of hopping into like the intuition and sex and men and women, really fun, like chakra, amazing things. But what we felt that we are done with the forgiveness part, and it's understanding that let go of that. Write in your journal, instead of I forgive, write I release.
I'm releasing this energy, because it's energy. It is only energy. And one of my most powerful meditations was a love meditation. And I was laying there and I was doing these big, beautiful, deep breaths, and it would float in, and it just was like coming in. And the whole time you hear this binaural beats of I love. And in the background, he's saying, and I'm going to do one like this, is that focus on what you love right now. Like one thing, even if it's your animal, and you're just doing these beautiful breaths and you're going down into this theta state. in the middle of this, out of the blue, I all of a sudden had this intense crying happen of like maybe what my children had gone through with what the divorce. Now, I have thought about this so many times,
Mm-hmm.
guilt and shame. Like, I feel like, conscious parenting, I just screwed them up. Like, poor, I'm so sorry. And at that point, there was intense pain that was coming. I could just like feel it, like it was being released. And in that same moment, some of the people that had hurt me the very most came into the visual of like, you are wanting them to like so-called forgive, to release this what they've gone through this
Mm-hmm.
circumstance, and you need to do the same. I saw the full circle, like of the releasing of the
Mm-hmm.
people that were holding me back in this guilt chain. Like it was a guilt, it was a guilt circle that was going on. And I said, it was so painful in that moment. The emotions were so deep that I was like, of course, I totally, what I used is the word forgiveness. I'm like, I totally forgive them in order for my children to truly energetically release me from what the things I had like shifted their life through. And it was just an energy thing. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand it fully. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. But subconsciously, I've been walking with a lot of guilt of like, I wish I could provide more this way. I wish I could do this. And um, it was so amazingly like lifting out of that. I think I cried like after I was even out of that hole, because like I went kind of down into more of a hypnotic state. When I got pulled out of that, I was like, I could start to see that things in my life with my children, I didn't have that instant guilt or anything. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, like Ashlyn said, we're all doing the best we can. And I did what I thought was best in the time that I was there. You can always reflect back. And we're not going to be gifted the people, like a lot of people that we feel like hurt us. Maybe they're not Mr. and Mrs. Reflection people, and they don't really care
No.
what they
And
did.
that's one thing
And they're
I've
doing
really
it to
had to
other people.
realize with like
Yeah.
family members that have hurt me or friends that have hurt me. Sometimes those boundaries where you can't be around them anymore. But there's also a fact of with certain individuals where I've had to realize that they are who they are. And it's not excusing their behavior or what they
Mm-mm.
have done. It is just being like, you know what? Like this at this point, I know that whatever I say to you is not going to get to you.
Right.
Or I'm going to be
Yeah.
gaslit whenever I come to you and I'm going to tell you, "Hey, when you did this, this really hurt me. This really affected my life." And so I ended up realizing that I had to do the work for me and understand that I'm not going to get
Mm-mm.
necessarily what I want out of that person. Because wouldn't
No.
it be just such a freaking amazing world if you went to that person and you said, "Hey, you did this to me and this really hurt me. And I really need you to explain, the full understanding." Wouldn't it be great if they were like, "Oh my gosh, I am so sorry that I did that to you." Just like the full realm circle of just all this unicorn utopia magic happens and sprinkles fly up and it's like, all is healed. And I had to realize that that moment's never going to happen. It's
Right.
not. And I took them for who they were with some distance. And it's just saying, hey, you know what? Like, I love myself so much that I'm not going to put myself through this situation again and again and again because I'm not going to get what I want out of you. And that is them saying they're sorry. And if you never ever receive that from them, at least you know that you released it for yourself
Right.
and for your generation. And that, especially if it was a family member that did that to you, like a mom and a dad or aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, that's not going to pass on anymore. How they affected you is not going to go to your children and their children's children. And Jerome and I have worked on so many generational, quote unquote, like curses. And I tell Jerome every day, I'm like, the man that you are is so fucking impressive because the shit that you've gone through and the man that you are towards our children is just mind blowing to me because I can't even imagine and fathom the things that have happened to you. And seeing that, I'm like, it empowers me to
Right.
do even further work. I'm like, if you can do that, okay, our children are going to be walking around like freaking
Right.
fairies on fairyland.
Well, the example that so many people give us out there, and I would like to do for ourselves, is like we only thing we can control is our thoughts and how we react to life.
Mhm.
That's the only really true control we have. So, like Ashlyn said, like we can't go to them and be like, "This is the piece of paper. I want you to hold this and say this to me. I'm really sorry for what I did to you."
Yeah.
But I will tell you that in shamanic healings and with therapy, that something they do is very effective is going down into your theta state with meditation, which is the way you connect with your higher self. That is the ground roots, being still and listening, and with your breath going into theta. With this, what Ashlyn said, you can go in there and reframe the situation. If you want them to apologize to you, maybe have your dad step up into that little reframe and be
Yep.
like, "You're going to apologize to my daughter, and don't you ever freaking touch her again. And if
Yes.
you
I
do, this is
love
what's going to
that.
happen."
Retell that
Reframe
damn
it.
story.
Retell the story in a way that you would like to have had it happen.
Mhm.
Like you didn't want it to happen in the first place, but your dad's coming in and stepping in and be like, "Whoa," or some figure like your grandpa, somebody's coming in, whatever it is. Like your mom shows up to school, like, or okay, you're at school and the girl says, "Why do you always wear piggy tails? You're so ugly. You're a fat cow," or whatever she says to you. And you have 5 girlfriends say, "You are not going to speak to my bestie that way." Like just
Mhm.
reframe the story. Your mind
Yeah.
does not know the
And then
difference
that ends up
between
reflecting that being
right.
that for yourself.
Well, that we're like something happened at 6 years old, and we're having the same emotional tie to the car accident or whatever happened, and somebody did it the wrong way. Now we're still feeling those flutteries and like upset, and it freaked me out because I had this happen. You can do the same thing with that meditative state of like telling your brain, "This is the story I'd like to actually reprogram it with." I'm
Mhm.
not trying to do denial, but if I was to have somebody step in like Superman, pull me from that car, do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
whatever you want, if it's deep, that's something that can help. And then just shows up differently because no matter what, our brain is always trying to do the best for us. And 95% of it just shows up with us not even wanting. One of the things I saw also today that I wanted to say is, are you inviting this person hurt you? Even if it's 17, we don't really care about the time frame, but it started at childhood. Maybe 17, you started to really recognize something big. But do you want to invite that person's energy into your house every day? So are you saying, um, okay, I really want to be thinking about this, just like Ashlyn said about JC, the little girl that was now adult. Do you want to say, "Oh, come and sit on my couch"? Are you inviting that uncle back into your couch every day by being reactive to it and not like releasing his energy back to him? No, you open that dang door, tell him
Yeah,
he
and
is
even
not freaking
saging
welcome.
helps with this too. Sage your
Right.
house and have that energy out the door.
Yeah, but just the visual of opening that door and saying you're not welcome here.
Mhm.
Okay, there's different ways to really work your brain, and your brain's like, "Hey, this isn't significant. He doesn't need to keep on tapping on her door." So your brain starts to kind of like really lessen the emotional ties to things that have hurt you. So
Mhm.
these are just things that popped up into my head. Like a lot of times I was in the shower or meditating, and I would be downloaded with a beautiful visual of how to release from trauma. And there's just so much. So all of us have gone through stuff. I think there was a time in my life, maybe when I was in my 20s, that I thought maybe I was the only one that experienced victimhood. I was like, it was
Yeah.
all about me. and hence like the little bobbers on the fishing hook. I had, probably a good 20 bobbers on those weighing me down. And
Mhm.
it was so fun as I've done this
Love to hear.
journey to understand like throwing and giving them back just their energy. Just give back their energy. It was so loving for myself, but just for you to visualize that. And you can visualize it over and over
Yeah.
again. It doesn't have to be a one-time deal. Like, wait, dude, didn't that hook like hook back on you? Like, why did it come back and like
That's
grab
why
me
I'm
on the
so
leg for a
excited
second?
for our course too, like finding the light within and just really connecting back into your body
Got to
because
back
it's
to
like
nature.
our podcast on crack. Like
Yeah,
it's gonna
it's
be so beneficial. It's a quick 6-week course. And to get those updates on that, follow us on at Now That's Love and also on our podcast. Subscribe and follow and send this to your friends. Like I love that this has benefited so many people. And just even just sharing it to one person, it's like you're benefiting their life as well. And we want this to be such a beautiful community where we can all relate and tell our stories and be safe and secure with each other. So, thank y'all so much for joining us on this No
So
More Forgiveness
much.
podcast. And we are
Yeah.
so excited
We're grateful
to
for the,
give you more updates. And obviously, my mom mentioned her amazing meditation that's going to be connected with this podcast as
yeah,
well. So
releasing.
we'll share some links on that below.
Yeah, these are the things that have completely transformed my life and shared it with clients and different things. And so I just seen it way beyond how it's helped me, but just so many people. And it blows me away. I'm like, wow, this person's not tapping out in alcohol anymore. This person actually got an overeating disorder. Things
So
are
many
just like unheard of.
proven things that are
Yeah,
coming.
it comes from our childhood and just doing what we've done in the first 30 episodes. Just know this was
This was a journey for us
journey,
too. We've walked it with y'all.
right?
Everything we've done, we're like, whenever before we were about to record this podcast, we were like, what are we going to have to really forgive or like release, not forgive, but what are we going to really have to release?
I think it's usually like a couple days before and then a couple days after that after I'm
Yeah,
like,
that
what?
too. Uh-huh.
We are so glad we're out of the dark shadow and the
Woo!
triggers.
Yes.
Hallelujah. You couldn't even see me on the past video. How I wasn't getting sleep. I was having things pop up. I'm like, just,
Yes.
I just feel like we get to be raw with you all. It's so beautiful. It's
It
so
is.
beautiful to just know that we're imperfectly not wanting to be perfect. Actually, I really enjoy the dark shadow side. In fact, on Monday morning, I was outside of my gym at 4 o'clock in the morning, and there was a back light around the back of the gym and a whole street, and somehow the doors were locked. So I'm like, oh, I'm just going to walk around one part and then do sprints. Well, I literally was thinking of the dark shadow, like hanging out with my dark shadow, because
Yeah.
I went around the corner and all of a sudden I'm on the street. There's a QT there, but people could actually get in a car. And how fast am I to go to the other side? So I'm actually around other cars. I'm all by myself. Something crazy could happen. And of course, I'm going to sprint. It was like a total mind game for me. But at the same time, I looked down right when I went off. I'm like, oh my gosh, here's my cute little dark shadow. And it actually scared me one time. I think I ran around the building like 8 times. And one time I looked down, I was like, thought somebody was behind me. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's my shadow. So like we talked about, don't be scared of your dark
Jumping.
shadow. And normally I was like, hey, what's up, buddy? You're running with me. So these episodes just are
These are
really
the
divinely,
foundations. So
right.
these will
And
be
they're
for you forever.
and they're divinely given to us. I just really feel like maybe the alter higher consciousness of myself, I should give her a name or something, because it's so beautiful how my first name is Oa. So we'll just do Omnificent Angel. Thank you all for
Thank y'all
joining
for
us, for subscribing.
joining.
Leave a
Yes.
comment down below. Like if you have a story that you would like to share, feel heard. We love hearing from you, and it's going to play out for years, for as long as YouTube is around, that you are helping other people too. It's not just mine and Ashlyn's voice. Or if you need help with anything, we're here. This is our community. You can go and tap in and be part of our community. We have posts there as well. So much love.
Bye.
Bye bye.